Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second of a three-part series on successful aging in place. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shauna Levine, and I'm the project coordinator at the Wayland Council on Aging. Just another reminder, please silence or turn off your cell phones if you haven't done so already. This program is made possible through a Community Challenge grant through AARP. The AARP Community Challenge is a grant program to make tangible improvements in communities that jumpstart long-term change. It is part of AARP's nationwide Livable Communities initiative, which supports the efforts of cities, towns, neighborhoods, and rural areas to become great places to live for people of all ages. Through the grant, we were able to purchase 100 sets of motion detector nightlights to give to participants in the program. For those of you who didn't receive a set last week, we will have them available to you at the end of today's program, including also some other materials will be available at the back. We will be recording the program, which will enable us to reach those unable to be here today. Today we will be presenting a Homefit workshop focusing on modifying your home for safety and comfort. Everybody received the Homefit guide that should be at your place. If you don't have one, just let us know. Our speaker today is Ellie Meyer, a certified occupational therapist. She is a volunteer with the Massachusetts AARP Speakers Bureau. Please welcome Ellie Meyer.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm not a regular user of microphones, so if I trail off or you can't hear me, let me know, okay? Is this close enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right, good.
Oh.
Thank you for welcoming me to Wayland. Felt like I couldn't pass up the opportunity to speak with you as I live right next door in Weston. So it was an early stop close by on my way to work, which is where I'll be going when I leave here. As Shauna had mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist. I have over 30 years of experience working not only with older adults but also with young children. When I started out my profession, I was working primarily with children who were on the autism spectrum with sensory processing problems, difficulties, and we focused a lot on creating functional, nurturing environments for them in their homes and in their schools. And so when I moved to working with older adults and adults who had had some type of trauma in most instances, were in a hospital and then came to my rehab facility, were making their way home, we spent a lot of time discussing what that transition back home was going to be like and what changes might need to be made in the home so that they could return safely and as well functioning as possible. In that regard, I became a certified aging in place specialist with the National Association of Home Builders. I also went on and got an executive certificate in home modifications through the University of Southern California, and am a founding member of a national organization of occupational therapists that works specifically in the home modification space, not just for older adults, but for people of all ages and abilities. And just a little bit about me, the leisure activities that I enjoy, running, reading, and travel. Oh, actually, just a moment. I do want to just kind of set out a few kind of issues to think about before we get started. It is a very content-rich presentation. As you can see, that guide has a lot of information in it. In that regard, I'm not going to just trust my memory as we go through these slides. I will be referencing notes. So again, as I glance down, if I say something that you don't catch, please raise your hand. I'll repeat myself. I think it's important to think about aging in place as something that we're all regardless of age, wanting to factor in as we go about engaging in the things we have to do every day. In occupational therapy, we refer to those as activities of daily living. So getting dressed, going to the bathroom, making sure we've got a good nutrition and hydration, but also the things we want to be doing in terms of leisure activities, like what I had mentioned, the things I enjoy doing. Making these changes are very personal, and a lot of things factor in. Changes we may make to accommodate us physically as we age are very different from the things we may need to do if we are having issues with memory and problem solving. Everybody's level of acceptable risk is different too. So just as an example, my 85-year-old in-laws have decided they want to get a new car, and not just any new car, they want to get an electric vehicle, and feel confident that because they have been driving for so many years that they don't need to test drive the car. So this Friday, my husband and I are picking up their electric vehicle that they ordered and delivering it to their home. We're very nervous about that because this electric vehicle has been known to have a very quick acceleration with a very little tap on the gas. And they're aware of that, and that's a risk that they are willing to assume in terms of getting a new car and continuing to drive. My mother, on the other hand, is 87 and has said that this car that she has owned since 2014 will be the last that she ever will own. And it's a Yukon XL. And she's much smaller than I am. So that's her, approach and her level of risk, and my in-laws' level of risk. So everybody's level of risks are different, as well as, the challenges that they feel like they are facing moving forward in living the fullest life that they can live. As we go through the presentation, you're going to see several products. I'm not necessarily endorsing any of them. In many instances, they're just to give you visual representations of what possibilities there are for overcoming the obstacles that you may have in front of you. I'm going to take 2 moments to pause during the presentation, so if you could hold questions till then. I'm happy to answer them briefly, but I don't want to take up too many minutes of our time. I want to be respectful of what everybody else has planned for the rest of the day. I do have to go to work from here when the presentation's over, but Shauna has my email, and I'm very happy to respond to anybody's questions after the presentation. As we go through the slides, you're going to see some that have little single green stars. You'll see some that have a single kind of dollar sign. Others have two single dollar signs. Those kind of give you a sense of what's a quick fix that you might be able to do for yourself versus something that may cost a little bit more. So just kind of be on the lookout for those. I want to kind of keep this as not just a lecture, but open it for some discussion. Many of you have maybe have some lived experiences that you think may be worth sharing. Maybe you've tried one of the products before and found it worked really well or didn't. So occupational therapy is a very person-centered profession, and we all learn from one another. So please feel free to, during the pauses, to share if you so feel fit. It's judgment-free zone. All right, the objectives of the presentation include being able to recognize how your home might be able to be modified to support the type of life you want to lead as you age. what's most important to you for maintaining that lifestyle as you desire, and what things you might be able to take care of yourself versus something that you may need to bring a professional in to assist you with. Some of the concepts that you'll learn also are ideas that you can bring forward to elected officials, policymakers, your local leaders to help create housing in the future that will allow people of all ages and abilities to live and thrive safely in your community. Oops. Sorry. So this person, environment, occupation model is one that we use in the profession of occupational therapy with the idea of thinking how we can work with the individual to maximize their occupational performance. So not only thinking about how to help people be able to do the things that they need to do, again, those routine activities of daily living, but the things that they want to do that are meaningful to them. So think about, what do you do in your free time that you want to continue to be able to do as you age in your home and in your communities? And what are the problems that you think you may already be encountering, or possibly maybe foresee encountering in the future, that might keep you from engaging in those activities that you enjoy? AARP has found that we are happiest when we are able to engage in those activities that give us meaning and purpose. And research has shown that home modifications can help people continue to engage in those things that they need to do and want to do. That being said, some modifications are a little more costly than others, which is why I like to bring up this slide. This slide is updated every year from Genworth Life Insurance Company. They look across the country at regions, not only state by state, but within states. Boston, Worcester, Springfield, the Cape, and they gather information about how much it costs to live in a nursing home, to move to assisted living, to afford some in-home care. Just for your reference, the homemaker services and the home health aid, they're averaging or estimating about 44 hours a week, so that's about 6 hours every day. So somebody coming in the morning for 3 hours, and then maybe they come in the evening for 3 hours. So I've given you the most recent financial information based on information that they gathered a year ago in 2023. And then they also include projections out. So this is for 5 years out from now. Yep.
Is that cost monthly?
Yes, so it is monthly. It's monthly.
Oh, sorry, I missed a big
Yep.
monthly.
Yep. So, so a homemaker, to have a homemaker come in, they usually will do cleaning, grocery shopping, making some meals. The home health aide, on the other hand, they're more hands-on, helping people who need to take a bath, who need help getting dressed. So right now, for example, to have the homemaker come in 6 hours a day, get you up in the morning, help get you back to bed at night, is about a little over $7,000 a month. That's based on information gathered a year ago. In 5 years, with an annual increase, it's approximately 3% every year. It'll be about $8,200 a month. And then going up from there, you can see it gets more and more costly. The one figure that kind of stood out to me, and I heard somebody before the presentation talking about assisted living facilities. The one price that has gone down is the monthly cost for assisted living facilities. They don't attribute it to anything in particular, but off the top of my head, I think there's more competition in the area now. We see a lot more assisted living facilities being developed. And I believe, based on my own experience with my own parents who live in a continuous care community, the pricing models have changed. And I think that the entrance fees, so to speak, the monthly average, has gone down because it doesn't include as much as it used to when the assisted living facilities were first being developed and that model of living was being marketed. So bottom line is you need to do your research. Not all assisted living facilities are the same, and you kind of have to shop around. But it's expensive, some of the alternatives. So moving on, last week some of you heard a wonderful speaker talk to the principles of universal design. How many of you guys were here for that last week? Okay, good number, great. So universal design is, your speaker, I believe his name was Richard, last week spoke to, is a concept of designing products and environments that are accessible to people of all ages and abilities. There are 7 principles, but just a couple of examples of the principles to universal design. One of them is equitability of use. So ramps are modifications to environments or that can accommodate not just somebody in a wheelchair, but somebody pushing a baby stroller, somebody pushing their little dog in a stroller, which I see. Always surprises me, but
Yep.
that's their things that bring them joy, and they want to be able to push their animal in the stroller, so ramps are very welcome to them. And pulling a foldable shopping cart, as you carry your items out of the grocery store and into your home. Flexibility of use, that's another concept within universal design. So thinking about the spaces in your home and how you might be able to use them for one or more purposes. So for example, a closet on the first floor, coat closet on the first floor, could that possibly be retrofitted to bring your washing machine and dryer from the basement up to your first level? Is there a dining room or living room that could be converted into a bedroom for somebody coming home that is having difficulty climbing stairs? So that's flexibility of use. And then another example of a universal design principle is low physical effort. So for example, walking into a hallway or stairwell and having the lights automatically come on because motion is detected. You don't have to flip a switch, you don't have to lift up your arm to wave at anything. It just automatically can kind of sense the motion without you having to do anything. So that's low physical effort, example of low physical effort. So as we look at our homes where we live, whether it's a single-family home, a condo, a townhouse, a couple of things to keep in mind on approach to the home. You want to make sure that it's, as much as possible, it's free from clutter, level surface, no tripping hazard. It has some protection from elements, rain, snow. It's well lit, so lights along the entranceway not just at the door, but leading you to the door. And you want to hopefully have an entrance that's accessible. And when I say accessible, I mean ideally one that it has no steps to enter or minimal number of steps to enter. This is the front entrance to my in-laws' home. They bought a ranch in the 1990s and converted it to an accessible area inside the home, but they had an entryway that's had 3 steps to it, and those kind of slate slabs spaced, I would say, a foot apart with lawn in between. And they decided a few years back they were going to re-landscape the front yard to make as best they could a no-step entrance. And so they've got a little bit of a threshold here, but they've eliminated the steps, and they've got somewhat of a level surface from their driveway to the front lawn, front door. Other ways of making an entrance accessible, especially when you have stairs that you can't just re-landscape, is to consider, again, having sufficient lighting, having the railings on both sides, and if possible, having the railings extend beyond that last step so that you still have something to hold on to as you make that final step. And if possible, creating walker steps. So a walker step is one that has a generally lower rise, usually about 4 inches instead of 7 or 8 inches high, and then a deeper tread, run. And those tend to be about 22 inches in depth so that they can accommodate something like a walker, which is why they're referred to as walker steps. Ramping is an option to get into the home. There are permanent ramps and temporary ramps. Temporary ramps can be purchased or bought, rented. You can get them used, although I would, be very carefully considering of that. And then there are thresholds which, if you just have even 3/4 of an inch of a height to overcome, that 3/4 of an inch might be difficult for somebody that's in a wheelchair to navigate over. So a threshold ramp is something that comes either a rubber ramp or aluminum ramp. When thinking of getting into the home, don't just think about the front entrance. Consider if some entrance on the side of the home, through a garage, from the back of the home, might be a little easier to modify. So we're not just thinking front door necessarily. It's more what's the easiest to modify. There are wheelchairs that can climb stairs with human assist. These are battery operated. The one on the left runs similar to a bulldozer's tread, and the one on the right actually has a mechanism whereby the wheels actually climb the steps one at a time. As you get to the front door, a couple of things to be keeping in mind. Again, sufficient outdoor lighting, lighting that may come on automatically when it gets dark, lighting that could come on automatically when motion is detected. Some people don't like that because they are light sleepers, and in the middle of the night an animal may go by the front doorway and the motion lighting might get triggered, and then they wake up and they can't get back to sleep. But that's a personal preference that you weigh the pros and cons. And always try to have the address as well lit and large so that it can be seen from the road for emergency vehicles if you need to ever call for any assistance. As we enter the home, particularly older homes tend to have very narrow doorways, and they're made even more narrow by the fact that the door itself doesn't fully clear the opening to make full access of that space between the walls. Swing clear hinges can be a relatively easy and inexpensive way to modify a doorway. Entering the home, think also of doorways within your home. Maybe getting into a bathroom. It's a little narrow doorway. You need just 1 or 2 more inches. A swing clear hinge may be a solution for getting through the doorway. Ideally, entering the home, if you can create a space that's 5 feet by 5 feet, that should be sufficient for anybody that is coming to visit in a wheelchair. That allows for a turning radius for somebody in a wheelchair. In terms of widths of doorways, minimum entering the home of 32 inches is recommended. And remember that 3/4 of an inch for the threshold. Anything higher than that is difficult for anybody who has a wheelchair that's coming to visit the home. Entering the home, also think about how to keep your home safe and relatively energy efficient for yourselves. So peepholes, ring systems, they can help you with identifying who may be at the door safely without having to open the door. Levered hinges for your doors, both out, your entry doors as well as doors inside your home, tend to be more energy efficient and easier for people who have any type of arthritic condition that makes it difficult to turn a traditional type of doorknob. And then locking mechanisms from inside the home. This type of locking mechanism that we oftentimes will see in hotels is one that, again, is relatively ease of use. So I think last week in your presentation, Richard spoke to you about using smart home technology to make your home more accessible and user-friendly. And one way of using smart technology is implementing it in your lighting system in your home. When we think about lighting, you want to think about your own individual person-centered concerns. So as we age, it's not uncommon that people develop conditions like glaucoma, macular degeneration, cataracts. All of this can affect how well we function. And lighting can sometimes help us, but in some instances it can not help us. It can become a barrier to what we want to do. So think about your own individual person-centered conditions. Think about the occupation that you want to engage in. What is it that you need your vision to do? Is it something do I need lighting that's going to help me with that specific task? So do I need specific task lighting? So for example, preparing a meal and using a sharp knife, I want good task lighting for that. Reading, I want good task lighting. Putting my makeup on, my contacts in, I want good task lighting. Is it lighting that is more ambient lighting, so just kind of whole room lighting that I'm needing to take into consideration. Old incandescent lighting often has a lot of glare. And if you've got any kind of a condition like macular degeneration, glaucoma, that glare can be very painful. Not only can you not see, but it's painful to the eyes. So LED lighting is really good for specific activity task lighting. So that cutting of the food, the reading, that's really good lighting, LED lighting. And fluorescent lighting is better for overhead, like in a room like this. I was just looking at the night lights that you guys are going to be given at the end of the presentation. Those are, I was noticing, can accommodate a range of degree of lighting, everything from a warm white to a cold white, which means it can help accommodate, you know, a variety of people's visual sensitivities. It's possible, even though you may have a room that doesn't have a dimmer switch, it's relatively easy to put a dimmer switch in. I bought a home recently, it's older, the lighting, I wanted to add dimmer switches. It was something I could do myself with, thanks to YouTube and Home Depot. So those are ways to get the right lighting for yourself as well. And on page 15 in the guide, there'll be a little more information with regard to things to consider when you're selecting lighting in your home. I'm sure Richard talked about the use of virtual assistants like Alexa and how they can help with things from adjusting thermostats to locking and unlocking doors to organizing your medication, making appointments for yourself. So the use of that may take some training, and that certainly will need to, you know, be factored in as well. You don't want to just get set up with these devices and then not know how to use them. They don't serve their purpose in that regard. Okay, so I'm going to just take a quick moment to pause. Any quick questions that somebody might have? Any personal experiences that somebody might want to share?
I have mine. I just, when you were talking about assisted living or senior living facilities, you said they're all different. Several years ago, some friends of mine and I decided to do to visit a number of these, and we visited 12 or 15 in the area, and they are all different, and their models, the financial models are all different. So I do encourage anybody who's planning to go to a senior living facility and check out as many as you can. The other thing is I think people tend to underestimate the cost of living at home. I mean, you think about food, utilities, taxes, and cleaning service and so on. Some of you may have mortgages, most of us don't. But there are other things that people don't consider. For example, the cost of maintenance of things like heating and cooling systems, a generator, a fireplace. They don't think about lawn maintenance. They don't think about snow plowing. All of those are things that you have to add in to the cost of staying at home.
Yep, that's very true. So getting back to what I said in the beginning, it's a very personal decision. I did neglect to add, you know, it's not always just yourself that's got an opinion on how you want to live. It's your family, it's your friends. So you've always got those opinions that will weigh in as well. Anybody else? Okay. All right, moving on. We're going to look at each room in the house. The kitchen. We'll start with the kitchen. So as we age, our desire and our need to cook can change, and certainly in the last 30 years or so, there's been a lot more options in terms of pre-made meals that you can get at grocery stores and food delivery and whatnot. So weighing our need and want to cook with what's available to us, is something you're going to want to consider. That being said, it's important to have good nutrition. It's important to remain hydrated, and you're going to hopefully have a designated space for your meals and for getting that nutrition. Think about how you might go about doing it differently as you age, working with the space that you have first. So activities you may have stood for, to prepare meals, to wash dishes at the sink. Consider how you might continue to do those things, but maybe you're going to be doing them sitting down to conserve some energy. Or using a different space in the kitchen to do that preparation work because it accommodates you being able to sit down. There's a space for you to get your legs under the counter. So think about changing that existing space before you think about having to do a complete remodel. This is an example of someone who had a total knee replacement. She had gotten to a good level of independence in the nursing facility. Transitioning home, though, she was home alone, and she wanted to even be able to warm up food in the microwave. But to get it from the kitchen counter to a place where her kitchen table was required having to navigate with the walker, a walker with the basket, a walker with the tray, and it made her nervous. So bringing out a card table, putting it up next to the kitchen counter, giving herself a chair, allowed her, at least for the short while as she kind of regained her strength and her range of motion and her balance, to be able to safely make a meal for herself and sit down and enjoy that meal without the stress of being concerned that she may fall in transporting that food from her kitchen counter to her dining room table. A couple of other quick fixes, maybe just thinking about how things are stored in your kitchen. We occupational therapists working with older adults tend to recommend that you try to keep everything within shoulder height to knee height. So nothing above the shoulder where you're having to do a lot of excessive reaching, where you may end up getting off balance and fall, or having to bend down below your knees, where if you have any kind of issues with blood pressure, vertigo, you may, find that you lose your balance leaning over that far. So just think about how you can take things, bring them down to that level between your shoulder and your knee. Alternating prep spaces. So I had mentioned before, if it's more efficient for you to sit down and your prep space that you have been using for the last several decades doesn't allow for you to sit down at a chair, think of a space that will allow you to sit. Replacing handles, traditional handles that tend to be circular. Again, if you've got any kind of arthritis or joint pain, limitation in range of motion, replacing handles, the round handles with a D-shaped handle. That's considered to be a little more energy efficient and less painful. A couple of harder to do items, maybe installing lazy Susans, so those in a cabinet where you're not having to dive deep inside. You just can put the dishware on a lazy Susan and rotate it around to get the dish you want. This is an example of a pull-out shelf. So you can pull it out, and there's your seated space for preparing your meal. And then putting faucets, plumbing fixtures that are motion censored or touch censored. Those are examples of things that may be a little harder to do, that you want to get a professional for. This is an example of a kitchen cabinet that has no hardware. Well, it has built-in hardware, but it's a tap to open and then push to close type of a cabinet. That's the hardware for the cabinet right there. So you tap the cabinet, it opens, you push it, and it closes. Other things to consider in your kitchen for safety, for energy efficiency, locating your microwave on the counter, top loading dishwashers. This is an example of a dishwasher here where it's actually two separate chambers. I don't think people need to necessarily get a whole new dishwasher system, but just think about maybe using that top shelf if bending down low is too much for you. The stove, it's recommended if you're going to need a new stove, you get one with the dials in the front so that you're not risking reaching over and getting burned, to adjust dialing on the top of the stove. And then refrigerators, again, even within the refrigerator, try to put things at a shelf height no higher than your shoulder, and then no lower than your knee if possible. Front load items so you're not reaching deep in the refrigerator and risking getting off balance. So moving to the bathroom, so certainly making meals is something that, you know, we can elect to do as elaborately or not as we so choose. Using the bathroom, though, is pretty much something that everybody needs to do. And as we get older, it seems we're spending more time in the bathroom than we previously did. So making that area in particular one that is safe and energy efficient for us is something we want to consider. These are a couple of suggestions for ways of overcoming some physical barriers within your bathroom that are somewhat low cost. So the idea on the bottom here is if you've got a tub shower and you're having difficulty getting in and out of the tub, in addition to some grab bars to hold on to, you might want to consider getting a tub bench where you can sit down outside the tub and turn and bring your feet into the tub in that. You would, these don't work with glass shower doors, so your shower doors would need to be removed, but you can use a plastic shower curtain and cut out a space for to accommodate where the bench overhangs the tub. The top left, the top right, that is a shower head. It's relatively easy to go to a big box store, get a handheld shower head, and simply unscrew what you've got and screw in the handheld shower head. What is showing on the bottom left is two things here. One is a riser. So if you have an existing toilet that's relatively low, it's not uncommon in older New England homes to have toilets that are 15 inches high. For many people, even shorter people, that can be a challenge to get up from as we get older. So higher toilets, the newer ones that are installed nowadays are called comfort height toilets. They're usually between 17 and 19 inches high. If you want, you can get a 3-inch riser, again from a big box store, and have that installed underneath your toilet to raise up the toilet. Another feature that can be added to an existing toilet is a bidet feature. You do need to have power in your bathroom to operate a bidet feature. So I mentioned I don't have any kind of electrical outlets or anything in my bathroom, so I couldn't retrofit my toilet, but some people who do have access to electricity can retrofit their toilets to have a bidet feature to help with the toileting hygiene. It's not uncommon as we get older to develop conditions like urinary tract infections, so good hygiene is very important to avoid developing those kinds of conditions. And the last feature on the top left is, we call them a 3-in-1 commode. They're generally designed to go beside the bed for people who have difficulty with ambulation, getting from the bed to the bathroom, so they can be put right next to the bed. Many people, though, more often than not, I see them take the bucket feature away and place these over their existing toilet. So again, the traditional toilet may only be 15 inches high. If you put one of those commodes over it, they have adjustable height, legs, and you have got your raised toilet seat. This is an example of a walk-in shower that is in the exact same space as a tub shower was previously, so the tub was removed. Extra backing was applied along the walls, all 3 walls of the showering space, and this prefabricated step-in shower was added with the grab bars. So that's an option without having to get into the expensive moving walls to create a low-step shower space. This is another option for creating a safe bathing space. You've probably seen vans driving around that have tub cutter advertised on their side. So this is a traditional tub that they've had this door. This is a hinged door here that closes when it's filled with water, so that it eliminates that 15-inch high. Tubs are generally about 15 inches high to step over. It's got a fold down seat. It's got the grab bars. So that's another way of retrofitting what you've got existingly. Grab bars now can be kind of embedded within the bathroom space in a lot more functional ways than previously. So not just within the shower, but grab bars by the toilet are helpful also for getting up securely, and they can also function as toilet paper holders. Within the bathroom, the bath or shower, having your soap holder be a grab bar. Having your shampoo and body wash corner, be a grab bar. A couple of things that we advise you stay away from are the types of grab bars that just kind of screw onto an existing tub. Those get loose over time, and if there's a lot of excessive tugging in one direction or another, they could come off and you could hurt yourself. We also advise you stay away from suction cup type of grab holders. Those not only don't hold securely, particularly for people that are large, when they do hold, they run the risk of pulling tile right off the wall over time. So we tend to advise you to stay away from something like that and have somebody install a grab bar that goes through the backing of the drywall or the tile or the whatever the surface is that you have in your bathroom. Another way to make a sink accessible, you want to be thinking about that space for sitting. Again, just like making a meal, standing in front of the sink for prolonged periods of time to shave, to brush your teeth, can take a lot of energy out of you. So if you can create a space where you can sit down to do those things, that would make it a lot more efficient for yourself, and you have that extra energy saved up to do something that you might want to be able to do. A couple of things to keep in mind: if you do create this open space, make sure that the plumbing is insulated so that you don't risk burning yourself. You don't have to have it exposed like that. There are ways for carpenters and cabinet makers to create doors that run on hinges that can open and then slide underneath the countertop, so that when you're not sitting there, you can close the space and it just looks like a cabinet underneath the sink. So last pause before we finish up. Any questions at this point? Any stories to share on kitchens and baths?
There are the arms that you can put on the toilet so
Yep.
that it becomes, it's not like you've got something stashed over the toilet. It's actually secured under where the toilet seat goes,
Yep,
and it's,
yep.
so it's like an armchair.
Yep, that's an option too, exactly. You do need to make sure that those are well fastened, because they can get wobbly over time, and I have had people fall off of those as well. You can also put grab bars next to, I showed you the toilet paper holder, that you can have a fold down grab bar installed next to the toilet that can fold down when you need to sit, and then fold up when you need the space between.
I just want to mention two quick things. First of all, in the back, we do have a pamphlet that talks about making good choices for grab bars, so if anybody's interested in that, we'll have that at the back afterwards. And I also just wanted to mention that the Council on Aging has some medical equipment that we lend out. For example, the transfer bench that you showed, we do have some of those, so if you wanted to borrow one to see how it worked for you before you purchase one, just let us know and we can see what we have. Our inventory is changing all the time. It just depends on what's been donated and what's been loaned out. But please always check it with us.
I didn't know if you were going to say something about laundry, but.
I'm going to get to that, but if you want to jump in
All
and
right,
share the
so
laundry story.
Exactly what you mentioned before. My laundry's in the basement, but I have a closet on the main floor. This is basically a ranch, but I have a basement, where you could put the washer and dryer on the main level, which is close to the bathroom, so the piping is there. But what I do, and I do have a chute that previous owners put in, but I don't use it. What I do, if I have a lot of laundry, if I have something heavy, towels or sheets, I put it in a laundry bag and I throw it down the steps.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's what I do. And then to bring it up, I actually fold it down in the basement, and I may bring it up in a couple of trips.
Yep.
And I do have railings on both sides of my basement steps,
Yep.
which is very helpful.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I can just speak loud.
Okay.
I just want to give a plug for a recommendation, not a recommendation, but I found out about that grab bar guy, that's his website, John Ricci. And he came in, not only did he have all the equipment with him, the grab bars, installed it, he knew where to put them. And his price was very good.
I imagine that the
I got a pamphlet from here, and it gave a list of people who can do grab bars, and he was one of the people on the list. And his site is that grab bar guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, pretty much all councils on aging have some type of a directory of service providers in your area, which is wonderful. I still recommend that people get at least, 3 separate quotes talk to your friends and neighbors about who, they may have used, not just necessarily go with the first name that you see on the list, but that's certainly, the COA is a wonderful resource for equipment and for service providers, so that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I want to just talk about general living spaces and how you can make your home what we call visitable. So a home that is visitable means one that has preferably a no-step entrance, or at least some way to access the home more easily for somebody who may have an assistive device or be in a wheelchair. Once in the home, if there's a half bathroom available to them so that they can use the facilities if they need to when they're visiting. So the no-step entrance, the half bath, and then the wide doorways, at least 32 inches wide, to be able to get through the doorway into your home. So that's a visitable home, if you ever hear that term. So within your living environment, a couple of things to think about. I deal with a lot of older adults who say, well, I have a cane, but I only use it when I'm outside the house, as if inside the house they have no issues with balance. In reality, instead of using the cane, they're holding onto the furniture or the sides of the walls as they move around their home. And I can see this when I do home assessments, because there may be, handprints along the hallway between the family room and the bedroom, or I say, show me how you get up from your sofa and walk to the kitchen, and they're holding on to the back of the couch and the bookcase. So if you have furniture, make sure it's securely positioned. It's not on uneven flooring, half on the carpet, half on the hardwood floor. Sometimes we'll even suggest people, if that's how they want to move, we want to respect that's how they want to move, but we want them to move safely, so we suggest, try to see if you can take that piece of furniture and affix it to the wall, so it's not going to go anywhere. If you lose your balance and you pull on the case, it's not going to come down on top of you. You want to make sure any kind of extension cording that you may need to get lighting to the room, task lighting to the room, is securely fastened down and not something that you might trip over. You want to make sure that area rugs, not area rugs, but like throw rugs and not wall-to-wall carpeting, but rugs are fastened down, and so that you won't trip over those. And if you're having somebody visit you that has some type of a walker or a rollator or even a wheelchair, you want to make sure they've got space to move between the furniture, and ideally about 2 feet of space is what you want to provide at minimum to be able to get around and be part of the community conversation. Another plug for lighting, toggle switches, that's another way to modify the home from the traditional kind of light switch, adding dimmers. Actually, the toggle switches, you replace them with rocker style switches. Some switches have built-in night lights to them, so that you have an extra opportunity for bringing light to a dark area. And you want to make sure you have light switches both at the top and the bottom of the stairs, so that you can see regardless of which direction that you're moving in. So moving into the stairwell conversation, you do want to make sure that you have railings on both sides of the interior of your stairs, interior staircases. If you can, get them to at least one railing to extend beyond the last step. You want to make sure you have good secure flooring, so Ideally, a tight woven low pile carpet with a very thin padding is the best type of surface to have on your stairs. If you have just traditional wood stairs with nothing on them, no carpet, then at least providing some type of a adhesive strip or a rubber tread that on each step to make sure you're not going to slip. The space in your hallway, it's suggested, you know, if you have somebody with a walker, they need anywhere from 22 to 28 inches of width to walk down the hallway. Somebody with a rollator needs up to 31 inches of space to go down a hallway. And if you're in a wheelchair, generally speaking, 32 inches is going to be the width you're going to need to go down a hallway or in a home. So making sure you've got space for people to move. Stair lifts may be an option for you. Nowadays you can get them new or used. You can own them, you can rent them. People will come out and give you free estimates on those. Again, I'd get at least 3 estimates before deciding which way you're going to go. These are 2 other options for getting to other floors of your home. The picture on the left is called a shaftless elevator. This looks to be something that you're going to need to be able to stand in. It doesn't look like it accommodates a wheelchair, but that may be coming. You may want to do a little more exploring as to whether a shaftless elevator might be able to accommodate a wheelchair and a person. But that's an option for in-home transit. On the right is what's considered a platform lift. So you go in, it's usually like a platform with 3 sides. It's operated by a button, go up. That's an option for getting from one level to another. And then the wheelchairs that can climb stairs. Those are options for indoor as well as outdoor stair climbing. Laundry room, as you mentioned, there are several options. I think you need to kind of explore what works right for you, whether something that's stackable may involve having to kind of reach in from the top to pull clothing out. That might not work for somebody, you know, one reason or another. The ones that open from the front may be kind of low, so you might want to get one of these added features that will elevate the dryer so that, again, you're kind of working between shoulder and knee height.
I actually have to leave because someone's coming to my house, but I wanted to mention, taking clothes out of the washer and dryer, I use a grab bar sometimes.
A reacher?
A reacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard people do that too. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This book was very handy too.
I did also want to let people know that.
Did you have a cane? Your cane?
My cane, yes. My cane, I'm almost leaving.
There are combined washers and dryers now, so if space is an issue, there are machines that will both wash and dry. I've got no personal experience with those. I don't know if any of you have, but those are options and as well. A couple of things to keep in mind. We're almost done here. If you're dealing with somebody that's got issues with memory problem solving, some early dementia, some things to keep in mind to make the home environment a little more user-friendly for them and reduce some burden on the caregiver. You may find it easy to start labeling things. What's in a drawer? What's in the room? This is the bathroom. This is the drawer for the silverware. Labeling things, you know, inside the refrigerator. Providing contrasting colors, but not to the point where you're gonna overwhelm somebody visually. Placing photographs of the things that the person has used daily, a razor, a toothbrush. Keeping those items that you use most often, or you have seen the person use most often, is most familiar with, keeping them out and easily able to locate. So if you used to keep a comb in a drawer, keep it out on the edge of the sink. Again, installing higher toilets, grab bars, non-slip mats. Those just help with, as we get progressively more confused through our advancement of dementia. We not only have cognitive issues, but oftentimes our motor control begins to slip away. And so it's harder to perform things like getting up from the toilet. So making those home modifications we've previously talked about. There's really good sources at alzheimersinfo.org on home modifications. And there's studies that are starting to look at smart home technology and how it can begin to establish patterns for what you do in your home on a regular kind of habitual basis, and then be able to detect how you might start doing things differently and how that change in performance may be an indication of an advancement in somebody's dementia, and other interventions may need to be taking place. So that's kind of in the future of smart home technology. Okay, I did want to say a couple things on gardening for those who still live in their home and like to garden. There are lots of things available to you as gardeners in terms of lightweight hoses, nozzles and tools that are larger handled, raising flower beds so that you're not having to get down on the ground if you've got arthritis and it's really hard to get down on the ground. If you've got a cardiac condition and it's difficult for you to be doing a lot of standing and sitting and standing and sitting and prolonged standing, you may find that raised beds in a chair make your engagement in the idea of gardening more pleasurable to you. And then think about how to manage exertion. So the 20-20-20 rule is basically you do an activity for 20 minutes, then you either rest for 20 or you do a different activity that's a little less strenuous for 20 minutes, and then maybe you go back and resume what you were doing for another 20 minutes. Now, you can make that 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. The idea is to learn what system works best for you and try to, be kind to your body and as you continue to enjoy the things you want to do, but in a little different way. So just think about what might be some quick fixes, what may be something you may need to bring in a professional for. The Homefit guide gives you some guidance along that way. If you're coming to next week's presentation, it might be nice to have kind of already gone through the guide, made lists for yourself so that you can ask specific questions to the person that's coming next week to talk about some of those harder to do items and what strategies they might recommend for getting those tasks done. I'm not going to go through these next few slides because I actually have emailed them to Shauna, and she's going to make them available, I think, next week to you. They are funding resources. They are resources for professionals in the community. There are quite a number of financial resources available. Within Massachusetts, we're very, very fortunate in that regard compared to other states. There aren't as many opportunities to some others as we have here, but it does take some researching. So I do want to just let you know, there are quite a lot of programs available. And if you rent, you have rights. So don't think that just because you may rent a property that you can't have any modifications made to them. That's not necessarily the case. So please keep that in mind. AARP has a lot more resources beyond the Homefit Guide, so please explore their offerings on the website. Many things they will publish in print and can mail to you if you like to have hard copies of things, but other things you can access online or download and print yourself. And please keep in mind not just the things you need to do, those activities of daily living, the bathing, dressing, but think of the things that really give you meaning and joy and pleasure, that you get up in the morning and you look forward to having the energy left after you take care of all those things you need to do, how you want to spend your time. What might be giving you a hard time now, what might you foresee being an impediment to engaging in those things in the future. So kind of take the time between now and next week to think about those things and see if you can incorporate those into some of the quick fixes or harder to fix activities. All right, and thank you. I apologize if we went over.
Thank you so much, Ellie. This was just such a great program, so much information. So once again, thanks to Ellie.
Pleasure.
And Ellie mentioned that our third session is next week. It's next Thursday at the same time, 10:30. And we're going to be having two different professionals that are both certified aging in place specialists who will be here. And they're going to be talking about some of the larger renovations that you can do to help you to age in place. So hopefully you'll all join us for that. And once again, we have some more materials in the back. If you did not get a set of the motion detector night lights last week, there are some in the back. Please take one, and we're asking one per household. And the same thing with the Homefit Guide. Unless two people in the household feel like they really want to have one for themselves, each one of you can take that, but otherwise please just take one per household. And we'll be here for a few minutes if you have any questions. And once again, thank you so much all for joining us, and thanks to Ellie.